Hi, I'm Terry Brock, and in this module, we are talking about the number one social media site, and you know what that is. It's Facebook. Joining me is Gina Carr. Gina, you've been using Facebook for a long time. What do you think of when you think of Facebook?
I think of the 800-pound gorilla. I
Yep,
think of the behemoth that you cannot ignore. And people
that's
say,
true.
"Well, I don't have a Facebook account," and I do have a lot of friends that don't have Facebook accounts, but they don't. They're not self-employed. Those people are not self-employed. They're not in sales, and so it works for them. But for most people who are in business today, they're going to need a Facebook account.
Yep. If you're in business, you need to have that. Well, I know you've got some slides that really are good. I had a peek at them before and looked at what you've done. You've packed in some really useful information on using Facebook for business applications. We're going to talk about that, but also some of the personal side as well as we go on this. So, Gina, I'm going to turn it over to you to show us some slides I know you put together there and share your screen with us, and let's learn about Facebook for business applications.
Okay, we'll do that. And certainly there are, as you reminded me earlier, there are books that thick on Facebook, and
Yeah, that's
there are a
it.
lot of a lot of programs and courses on Facebook, and we'll have some links to those and resources. But we're going to cover some things that, from our perspective and what our clients have gone through that we've helped them, and some different things that you're not going to normally see here. So I'm going to share my screen and pull up the presentation. All right, here we go. All right, 800-pound gorilla. Terry, this is one that you used, actually, I think, when you presented to Chevron a while back. Or what did you want to say about this one?
Yeah, well, it's a big factor out there. Is with over 1 billion users, Facebook is something you got to look at. Matter of fact, you'll notice down there in the lower left corner, Gear Up Growth with Engage. That was Chevron's theme. And so they asked me to come in to help them understand how can you use this in business. Obviously, Chevron has a page, and they were using that in their public presence. It's very important. This is where people go to find information today. A profile is very good. You want to have that, but focus on business. Even if you use, let's say, for instance, you're a sole proprietor, you're a speaker, a consultant, a coach, an author. People in that category, called thought leaders, will have a more of a profile, where a business would have a page. So you do want both. And of course, there's old Mark Zuckerberg, the genius that created Facebook, and continues to amaze us with the ideas that they come up with.
Yes, certainly.
Gina, you have
When,
worked a little bit with the ads. I know this. When we sat down, remember, Gina, when we were in New York and we were talking to our editors at McGraw-Hill in their offices in that big high skyscraper there, and they were saying, kind of as an inside scoop, hey, they have found really good effectiveness with ads on Facebook. This is for book selling. Well, it also can work in other areas. So the ads on Facebook really are important. That means for us as business people, we got to look at it.
and we're definitely going to spend some time on that in this presentation. What can Facebook do for you? Well, it can certainly help build your name recognition, and that's whether you're doing it for your business or for your personal. And so much of our world today is a merging of personal and business. And for many businesses, you can barely tell a difference. And even if you're a big company, it's important to have a face that goes with the business. Think of the Aflac duck. Think of Flow with Progressive Insurance. Think of so many of the icons, the Pillsbury Doughboy. It's important to personalize your business. People want to do business with people or things that they feel are people, with eyes and a heart and those sorts of things. So I really say that the eyes have it, and it's good to associate somebody's face with your brand. Okay, it certainly can affect loyalty to a great deal and expand your reach, because we've had word of mouth forever, and this is word of mouth. Terry likes to call it word of mouse, and it's far greater for reach through Facebook. And it certainly helps you to establish your credibility.
Yeah, it's exactly. If I can jump in there for a moment, we've had a chance to meet people that a friend of ours introduced us to someone who is very prominent in executive level circles, traveling around the world and working with some very well known executives. And we're able to meet the person. We did a video conference with them. We met through email, and most of our relationship now is on Facebook as we get to know this person and this person gets to know us, et cetera. So Facebook really is important for business at a social level.
That's such a great example because, we knew one guy and the one guy knew both parties. And so he introduced us, yes, as you said, on email, but we were able to check each other out on Facebook. And then the best practice is for most businesses, you meet online and you take it offline as soon as possible. You go to a phone call. We went to a video call, which is great. If you're close by, meet in real life. And so the relationship builds from that. And it's, been a great experience, and it's great getting to know him better. So this is an example here of my cover photo that I've been using recently. And I was named to an award last year, 50 over 50 marketing thought leaders. I guess if you have to be over 50, there's something good that comes from that. And, I just had a little graphic made that supports that. And I've just really been pleasantly surprised at how many people have used that in my introductions for speaking and for radio shows that I've done and things like that. And it's really made an impression on people. So what I'm saying is that if you have something, if you're recognized as an award, just get a little graphic made up that illustrates that and share it with the world. It's tooting your own horn without blowing it. Terry, why don't you hit this one?
Well, Facebook is going to take time, and it's going to take money, and it's going to take expertise in order to do it right. So be willing to put in the time, the money and the expertise, and make sure also that that you are consistent. That's really important. You don't want to have one post that comes out one day and then 6 months later another one comes out. The idea of putting something out on a regular basis, either every day or 5 to 6 days a week, is very good. And you want to automate that where you can. And automation of that actually becomes more of you automatically doing it on your own. Facebook is set up so that you do this on your own. If you use really an automation or a machine kind of thing, they can ding you on the effectiveness that's there. So be willing to put some time, money, expertise, and can keep that consistency when you're using Facebook.
All right, so the basic steps of Facebook are that you want to attract fans and friends. You want to engage with them. You want to set it up such that you can get their emails as soon as possible. There are some apps that you can use for Facebook to do that. Just do a Google search on apps for Facebook, and we'll put some of those in the resources also. And then because you're supposed to be getting emails, that's the main way to communicate with people. When you use Facebook, they're not always going to see your post. And so it's really important to get their emails. And you can also do that by driving them back to your website so that you can get emails. You're going to keep engaging, even through email. And then eventually you get paid. You like that part, Terry?
That's a good thing, and I think we got to keep that in mind regularly, that we're doing this socially, but it's about business. But that's the trick. You can't go in and say, "Hi, I'm wonderful, give me money." You do something like that, and Facebook particularly, you're in trouble. Think of it like a really good party at a good friend's house that's bringing over some people, and there's some good opportunities for business. But realize that it's a nice casual party. It is there, and everyone knows that we're interested in business, but you don't walk up to someone first time you meet them and go, "Hi, I'm wonderful, buy my stuff." You will make a very bad impression there. You want to make sure that you keep that in mind. Obey the protocols of Facebook.
Yeah, and that's a great example and a great way to look at Facebook. And what would you actually talk about at those sorts of parties?
I think, think about it. You would talk about the weather. You talk about current events. You talk about common interests. So if you're all from a certain school and you have children in that school, that'd be the thing you'd want to talk about. Or if they have a certain political interest, that's why you're there. Or there's a certain social interest, whatever. Talk about those things. The business will come from that. We like to do business with people that we know, that we like, and we trust. And Facebook is a good way to build that. Just do it in a professional way and don't rush it pushing the sales. Think of it as a way to get to know people.
Yes, people want to get to know you. So if you were at that party, you may be talking about something that you're passionate about. You may talk about your kids, your pets, your gardening, your bicycling, whatever it is that you're passionate about. And so that's some of the things that you want to share as an individual on your Facebook personal profile. And that helps people get to know you better in a business circumstance as well. So do a little bit of business, but do a lot of letting them get to know you as a person. And here's a way that Terry has let people get to know him as a person. It's a great example of a photo quote that got a lot of shares when Terry posted it. So you'll notice that he has his website down at the bottom, because that's, you really want to be able to associate it with him. I see a lot of times people will post these photos and you can't tell who it's attributed to after a while because it gets copied or pasted or whatever. So you really don't want to make sure that you have either your Facebook address or your website down at the bottom. And so that was a nice quote there. Any other thoughts on that?
I would recommend thinking about. If you have a quote from you, I mean, I'm the one that said that, and something that I wrote. And so we had a person who was helping us, who was good at graphics, was able to get that picture, found that picture worked with the phrase that I had said in the blog, and they put them together. This is something that you can do, particularly if you're trying to promote a particular topic. It might be your CEO of ABC company that said it. That would be another good way to do it as well. But this can get a lot of favorable attention. Does it generate a sale? Not directly. Usually you're not going to get it that way, but it will keep your company, your CEO top of mind, and it's a very good thing to do.
Okay. Here's an example of a way to share a testimonial and promote a product. This is a client that we've worked with now for several years, and the CEO of La Quinta talked about the book and this person, and so we were marketing this book. So, but think outside the box here. You could pair your product. You could put a picture of your product or a picture of you performing a service, and take a nice testimonial that someone did. If the person that people might recognize, then that would be a great person to quote. And if not, just a regular person. Now, if you're going to use their full name, of course, be sure that you have permission to do so. And again, it's really important to put that website down at the bottom so people can find that if they want to take more action. Another example of a quote that was posted on a real estate website. So Better Homes and Gardens pulled out a nice quote about home and gave proper attribution here to the person that said it, put a nice little graphic, use something different here. They use black and white, where mostly photos on social media are color. So I think this one really stood out for that, and had a lot of shares. Quite nice. You want to share content that is entertaining, interesting, inspirational, informative, valuable, and helpful. Now, every post that you do is not going to be all of those, but try to get in a few of those. And while this is true for Facebook, it is true for other networks as well. These are the kind of things that you want to be sharing. Terry, any thoughts on this?
I think that I would agree. This is the kind of content you want. We're all busy. And so people aren't going to just say, oh, wow, Bart Schnirkelmeyer's got another post out there. Wow, I got to drop everything I'm doing and read that. No, but you want to develop a reputation that every time you put something out there, people go, this is really good. I like his stuff. Think about authors that you read. They're really good. It takes time and it takes practice, and consistency is the way that you can develop all of those very important elements that you want in your shared content.
I'll tell you, on that note, an example of something that I've tried to do, and I won't say I'm terribly consistent about it, but I do get improved engagement when I do. Terry and I go to a lot of conferences, and a lot of people come to Orlando and meet with us. So we're constantly with people, and we're taking pictures of us with people, which is pretty cool. But so what value is that to share? And so one thing that I've tried to do is I'll either get from them a travel tip, because a lot of our friends and people that follow us on Facebook do travel a lot, and or a tribe building tip or a marketing tip. Those are my areas, tribe building and marketing, that I focus on and post a lot about. I hope you can see where if I'm doing a post and I'm showing a picture of me with someone else, if I can say, and John says that the best, his best travel tip is to use melatonin. I'm thinking right now of actually a friend of ours, Frank Furness, who that was one of the best travel tips, and he certainly travels a lot internationally. And so I think that was a good example of something that I'm showing that we were having lunch or dinner, and also sharing a tip from them. All right, one of my favorite things is Wayback Wednesday and what's called Throwback Thursday. And this is a great way for you to share and let people get to know you better. I could share something like this and talk about my days as a competitive water skier at Georgia Tech, when I went to Harvard, those sorts of things. And this is something that you can really do and should make a big point of doing where your business as well as with you personally. And pull out some of those old photos of when you first opened your business or you first met with your client, whatever examples you can come up with that you can regenerate, you can bring them back to life, because people don't always go back and look at everything that you did a long time ago, and you've got new friends coming on board all the time. It's a great way to educate them, let them get to know you better, and let them get to know your business better. Terry, thoughts?
I think you were a great skier, and I can see that now.
Okay. Terry, this is something you do a lot. Why don't you elaborate on this one?
Yeah, this is a picture I took of some people who were presenting, some friends of mine who were presenting up in a conference in Toronto. And by taking a picture of that and talking about what they were mentioning and building a story on that, it helped a lot of people who also knew them to relate and to be part of the event. And of course, it helped my three friends because they were referenced, and we made sure we tagged them so that their name was prominently positioned there. And it just is a good way to be a good social media citizen, making sure that you can give recognition to people who are doing something that is good, something that's positive, something a little bit unusual. The three of these people were from different parts of the country in the United States. They were in Toronto also. I happened to be in the audience, so I was able to get a good picture of it. That type of thing is something that you want to do, and Facebook is about that.
Excellent.
Oh, here's one. Can I mention this one too? Now, this one is one that I put out there, and you'll notice those two creatures there. Those are real kangaroos. Gina and I were in Australia a little while ago, and we were out in a resort where there were some friends. We were celebrating a birthday of a particular friend of ours there. We came over and saw that, and we were just wandering over to the cafeteria from our little cabin where we stayed. Everyone was staying out in little cabins out there in the rural area. And we look, and sure enough, there they were, kangaroos. Like, for us, that was a big deal. The Aussies were going, yeah, so what? But for us, we were going, wow, kangaroos. So we grabbed our cell phones, started shooting video, got some shots real fast, and then quickly we found out how fast kangaroos can travel as they ran away. But the fact that we got that, put it out online, it was a hit, and people loved it, getting a chance to see, hey, this is really a kangaroo there. It was quite an experience. This, again, is what Facebook is about. Notice it's not about business. It's about social connection, fun. Hey, we're in Australia. We were getting pictures of the kangaroos, and that helps build the recognition. People get to know you, and then later on, will want to do more business with you. So you see, that's the way it works in social media. Usually not upfront, overt, hi, buy my stuff, we're great, but rather it's, hey, we were in Australia, look at the kangaroos. They get to know you as a person.
Yes. Okay, so here's another thing. Here's something that I've been doing for years, and I've shared it with a number of people, and I've seen other people do it, and people seem to really love this. And it's what I call testimonials, and bringing your Facebook to life and making it more of a resume for you. LinkedIn has this really nice feature of testimonials and endorsements and recommendations. Well, Facebook doesn't have anything comparable, so I just created my own. And so I started this album, and it says testimonials, what people are saying about Gina Carr. And then when you click on one of the photos, or if you hover over the photos. If someone's checking me out and they go into my Facebook page and they see this album, they can hover over these photos and see the words, or if they click it, they can see more. And so I, bring the actual quote or endorsement that was, excuse me, let me use the right word, because in LinkedIn it means something different for an endorsement to a recommendation. I'll take the exact recommendation from LinkedIn and I quote that, bring it over here, put it with the person's photo, and then maybe give them some links back to their social media sites or their website. And I think that this is a really good way to share the good news and the good things that people are saying about you. Now, one person, she didn't do a LinkedIn recommendation, but she did post on her own wall and tagged me, Deb Creer, a friend of ours, about helping her with her clout score, which is something that was talked about in another module. So I just took a picture snap of that, and I also share that on the testimonials and on those pages. Now, this is a totally separate album, and this one I call Experience. And again, think about Facebook and making it come to life, creating it, turning it into your resume and making it come to life. Now, I've taken several different companies that I've done work for, companies that I've owned, and I will add in the caption area a little description or explanation of what that was. For example, I started a chain of community magazines in Atlanta. And so I wrote about that a little bit here, just a little bit of an explanation of what it was. So somebody, again, who's checking me out, and people do check you out, could see that. All right, now we're getting into this item that Terry alluded to earlier about people seeing you on Facebook. And this was actually from a few years ago, and I imagine that it's even harder now to find. It says it's almost easier to get, 30 times easier to get into Harvard than it is to get into Facebook's newsfeed. What do you think of that, Terry?
Well, I think that's quite interesting, Evan. You might know something about that, having graduated from Harvard, but I think it is interesting and well worth it to get into Facebook's newsfeed when you can.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about what it takes to get into the Facebook newsfeed. And let me just distinguish here. Facebook has what's called a filtered feed. So Facebook has various algorithms that determine, or has an algorithm, I guess I should say, that determines which of your posts get into your friends or your fans' feeds. Say that 5 times quickly. And whereas Twitter has an unfiltered feed. Twitter's just a fire hose, and everything you post, people who are following you, depending on how you post it, they can see it if they happen to be on, and or they can go look at your timeline and see the things that you've posted. Facebook's filtered feed is otherwise known as EdgeRank. And here are some of the factors that affect, that come into play in determining whether you get into your friends or fans' newsfeed or not. The popularity of you, the person who is actually doing the creation. The popularity of the post with viewers. So how many people are already, from the moment that you post, do you get likes? Do you get comments? I can tell from my posts which ones are going to be popular or not right away. I mean, if it doesn't get anything in the first 3 or 4 minutes, it's usually not going to get anything in terms of likes and engagement. Okay, it also factors in the popularity of my past posts and who has interacted with those. The type of post, is it a video? Is it a video that's been shared from YouTube, or is it a video that I uploaded directly to Facebook? If I upload it directly to Facebook, it's going to get more shares than if I share just the link to YouTube. Because you got to think like Facebook here. Facebook does not want you to leave Facebook. So that's part of why even in Facebook you can you can play a video in YouTube without it going over to YouTube, but they still like it better if it's totally native to Facebook and you've uploaded directly into Facebook. So the type of post, they prefer photos, they prefer text, things that are going to keep you right there in Facebook. Mm-hmm. And also the recency of the post. Even if you had a great post, if it's been some time, but since you posted it, it's not going to get as much interaction any longer. All right, let's talk. Terry, did you want to contribute anything on that?
I think the pay to play with your sponsored posts, we're seeing more and more of that happening now. And that kind of ad is going to be important. The Facebook ads are there. We're seeing that you are now more and more needing to pay in order to play and be a participant in Facebook, particularly as a business.
Yes, well, and the way Facebook looks at it is they're giving you real estate, and they gave it for a long time, and then we've seen that Facebook business page posts have gotten less, and it's just gone down and down and down, the number of people that see your post unless you're paying for it, and it's costing people quite a lot of money to have a good presence on Facebook business pages if they want them to be seen. And there are various ways to advertise. We're going to talk through those, including your events, which I find that to be very popular, and you can make special offers. So let's look at some examples here. Okay, this is an ad that you might see in your right-hand sidebar, and all of these are examples from a Jasper's Market. This is called a sponsored post. This is what you would see actually in your news feed. And what I generally see is when I pull up my news feed, I can go down one or two posts that are going to be personal friends, and then it's usually going to be a sponsored post, number 2, 3, or 4 position down there. So what someone has taken as their business is they have boosted their post, and Facebook's made that really easy to do now. And one of the ways that you can know whether it's a good post to boost or not is if it initially gets some interaction. If it initially has a few likes and comments, that's a good one for you to post, for you to sponsor and boost and spend money on. Here's just another example of a sponsored or boosted post, but this one's actually a boosted video. So you can see the little video link in there. And that's a difference between a YouTube video or one that's posted directly to Facebook, which again is going to get more interaction. Okay, here this company is sponsoring an event. So they have done a boosted post for an event. And I find this to be one of the best ways to use Facebook advertising is when you're promoting an open house, if you have a physical location, you're promoting a workshop, or you're promoting a digital webinar or something like that. That's when I find, and our clients are finding, that Facebook ads are working best. And that's an ad, again, that's going to show up right into your newsfeed. Something that people have also had real good success with is called a Facebook offer. And you'll see down there, let's see, my cursor's not showing, but if you look at the right-hand side of that photo, you can get the offer. So it says save $10 on your first order of groceries over $50. And you can click to get an offer right there. I think these are very effective, and I've seen a few physical businesses and a few virtual businesses, that are not restricted by geography, use these, and these can be very effective. Here's a Facebook advertising success story. It's called Canada Drives. It's a company that they lend money on cars, and they had a very successful campaign, so much so that they really credit their Facebook advertising with helping them become Canada's #1 credit source. Great example of a local business, Morgan Miller Plumbing. And I love this photo here because, Terry talked earlier about getting people across that know, like, and trust bridge, or establishing know, like, and trust. I call it the know, like, and trust bridge. And, I look at a photo like this and I see they look professional. They're wearing their uniforms. There may be a little variation on that, but they're all, basically wearing something very similar. It just, to me, exudes credibility, and they look friendly. So it's a group that you're having a plumber come into your house. You want somebody who's going to be friendly and credible and trustworthy.
Yeah,
Terry, any
Gina, I was
thoughts
saying
on
this
that?
is the kind of thing that has been used for years when they would put a picture out. Now with Facebook, you get a chance to see, oh, that's what the plumber looks like. When they show up, you know it really is the plumber from Morgan Miller Plumbing. And also you see them as human beings, which is very important. They're not just a number there. That's something that is much better. So think about that, whatever business you're in. Putting pictures of people showing how you can help them. I think maybe putting more informative and content-related information out there will help people to know, here's what you can do, here's how you would solve that plumbing problem, or here's what can cause that, or here's what to do for maintenance. As they put that information out, using videos, of course, and pictures and stories, that would help us to know, okay, these guys are people that I want to keep by, and just in case something goes wrong, I want their number. They're on the refrigerator door on a magnet so that I can call them when something goes wrong.
And what's so perfect for a business like this, a geographically focused business, you don't send plumbers generally to jobs that are 3 hours away. You're going to want to target. And as I understood from this ad, they targeted 50 miles around their main geographical area. So that's part of the beauty of Facebook ads. You can target by geography. You can target by status. Did they just get engaged? Are they expecting a baby? There's a lot of ways to break down your advertising in Facebook and to really target those people either geographically or not geographically. You can target just by interest. Earlier we were talking about if your passion's dogs, or let's say that you have a dog business, you sell dog food or you sell dog grooming materials or something like that, then you can advertise very directly to dog lovers. This is continuing on with Morgan Miller Plumbing. I thought the quote by Jeff Morgan was interesting. He says, Facebook gets you in the game. It's taken our business to places we never could have imagined. I've saved our last Yellow Pages ad from my museum. Brochures and other print advertising just don't have the same reach and targeting options as Facebook. Now, I must say, and I'm very biased to print advertising. I had print advertising, and that was part of the key to the magazines that I had in Atlanta. They were very hyper geographically focused, hyper local focused, but many areas don't have that. So that's that's where something like Facebook can really come in. And it talks about the power of celebrity. I mean, in their particular town, this has made Morgan Miller Plumbing Power and Jeff Morgan quite the celebrity. They are the who's who in plumbing in their area. So when somebody needs to make a phone call, who are they going to call? Who are they going to call, Terry?
I would say they're going to call Morgan Miller Plumbing there if you're in the 816 area code, which is Kansas City.
Oh, that's a handy thing to know, isn't it? Okay, let's talk about the pay-to-play summary. You're going to need to start with your Facebook page. You do have to have a business page to be able to do ads. You got to determine what you're going to promote. As I said, events, I think, and special offers are very effective. You're going to choose your target audience, set a budget, and you can run ads on Facebook for as low as $5 a day with your budget. And then you're going to track results and constantly tweak it. You're going to try different photos. You're going to try different verbiage. You're going to try different target audiences to see what works. And they have a really great, the manager, Facebook ad manager has evolved and it's gotten much more user-friendly over the years. Terry, let's summarize what we learned about Facebook in this module.
Okay, well, Facebook, why using it? We saw that it is the dominant force out there, the number one player in social media. You definitely need to use it. And you saw some examples that we posted there. So these are good to go back over. Matter of fact, one of the things you might want to do is go back over this material. Once you've seen it one time, that's good. But there was a lot of details in there that Gina and I shared. There were a lot of good examples that we shared, and you want to go back and review those. Make sure that you get a good example of what works and what you can do, and twist it and mold it. You might not be in the plumbing business. You might not be in the Jasper's Market business. But take what they're doing, twist it to fit what you're doing, and be able to get something useful. Edge rank, of course, very important for knowing that you're doing the right thing. And pay to play, that's where we're getting more. So have a budget for that. And nice thing about Facebook is the budget doesn't have to be a whole lot, and you can get some good results now. Many people are, particularly as you can zero in on specific niches in your market.
One of the things that we have not talked about in this Facebook module, but it's actually what I consider to be one of the most powerful aspects of Facebook, is Facebook groups. Now, we have a whole module on online communities, and we dig into the Facebook groups there. So be sure to see that, and that's one of the most powerful ways to use Facebook. And that's best practices with advertising, with groups, with all of those things. So again, we could spend a whole course on Facebook, but we wanted to give you some of the highlights and give you some ideas that we see people having success with, and some things that a lot of people aren't doing, but the ones that are having really good success with it. So join us for our next module, Module 8, LinkedIn.
Thank you very much for being with us.